All right. Just like that, we are live. Welcome, everyone, and a very, very blessed good morning to all of you, or good afternoon, wherever you are across this beautiful realm. Part two of our Thanksgiving extravaganza. We are so honored and so graced to be blessed with the presence today of the one and only Aloise Middleton from the Dharma.Life Academy. We are so excited to have you here today, my dear. Thank you so much for being here with us, one of our favorite spiritual masters across this realm. It's just an honor to be here with you today. And again, welcome everyone. And thank you all for being so patient. We were just putting things together behind the scenes, but without further ado, let's get into this. Aloise, welcome, my dear.
Oh, that's such a lovely welcome. Thank you so much. I just said before we came on air, I was like, all my favorite people. Like, yeah,
you're one of our faves.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got a place in my heart for all of you. Gorgeous beings, gorgeous, gorgeous beings.
Well, as we do for you, Aloise, your work is just absolutely magnificent. And the souls that you are building and ushering into this new earth, your work is just absolutely profound. And the truth that you speak and the wisdom that you put forth into the collective is just, it's profound and it's absolutely amazing. And I myself am grateful for you. I mean, we connected long ago, seems ages ago. But yet here we are again in the present moment. It seems like it was just a flash because, as we know, time doesn't really exist. That's just another construct. But I've always followed your work, and I just find it to be nothing short of uplifting and inspiring. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you, Greg. You're embarrassing me. I'm going to wear the same color as my shirt.
And for our audience, Aloise is the mastermind behind her DLA, her Dharma.Life Academy, that she's got these beautiful souls coming up through, and she works in kind of a yearly or 6-month basis that you can work more privately with Aloise. And she's just a beautiful, beautiful mentor. She has the capacity to hold space for so many beautiful people. And I've been part of that community for the last almost a year, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing to witness what I've gone through and then witness everybody else's growth within the academy. So thank you so much, Aloise. I'm eternally grateful for you in my life. Robin can attest to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Had a knock-on effect.
Yeah. You have had a major impact in the individuals that participate. I have information that kind of goes over a lot of people's head because all of us are struggling with these things. Spirituality is a different concept. You are going out of your head, essentially, to look at the world. So that's a really difficult and challenging thing to do because we feel vulnerable. So the work you've done with my wife, with others that I've come into contact with, and
we just met Teddy.
Yeah, we met Teddy in person, and oh my gosh, it's lifelong friends. They're getting to a level of understanding of self where my genuine expression is understood by them. It's understood that I'm not just talking, saying words. I'm looking to connect. So you see where there's an understanding of purpose. Are we on a soul level together? And those individuals that have found that within themselves, I recognize it within them right away, and it sinks easily. This is curing humanity, guys. This work, it's giving the individual the ability to express themselves without fear. And it's amazing. So I really want to point that out.
Thank you. You know, we are such sociable beings. We say, and Leigha testified to this, we say in our community, I don't want to talk at level 1.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about the weather. I don't want to know, this superficial crap that humans talk about. If you're going to come into the DLA and you're going to come into the academy, or if you're going to be in my life, I need to be able to talk to you at level 3, which is really what's going on. And we've been taught to put up this front, this face to look good. You know, most of us have been cut off from our emotions and cut off from our hearts.
Yeah.
And, you know, and part of the journey that humanity is on is to reconnect to its humanity. You know, and I cannot stand, and I just cannot have those shallow conversations anymore. You know, if you sit in front of me or we're talking, I want to know what's really going on for you, because that's how we transform. That's how we change. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a long journey, Robin, I'll be honest, to get here. As in, I myself was one of the worst offenders at having a face on and saying, yeah, everything's fine. Deeply, darkly depressed inside and wanting to kill myself. But externally, I had a little smile on my face saying, yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah. Well, we've all been there. We've all been there, and we've all played that role, and we've all worn that mask. I myself take full responsibility for that. I did that for years until I found my Dharma and therefore embodied it and now living it. But we all wear the mask for so long that we forget who we are beneath it. And when we forget who we are beneath it, that's when we actually begin to find ourselves.
And we grow up in these environments, or, you know, I think past tense, because obviously your kids, Leigha, Robin's, your kids, you know, they won't have this. But personally, I grew up in an environment where it was like, well, you weren't allowed to show your emotions. You weren't allowed to speak your truth.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to really say what was going on for you, even, you know, and, you know, I think hopefully now growing up in conscious families, children will get to understand that actually some adults don't tell the truth. You will tell the truth, but not everybody tells the truth. Yeah. And actually, it's okay for you to express your emotions, because most of us grew up in environments where it wasn't okay for us to be our true selves, and it wasn't okay for us to speak our truth. And consequently, we learn to hide it. And then the shadow aspects develop, and then we cover it up with obviously drinking, alcohol, whatever our poison is, shopping, whatever it may be, because it's kind of like we're not integrated and we're not in alignment. And the way of dealing with that is to effectively find a way to suppress that emotion, shut it off. But as we all become more conscious, it gets a lot easier to then process and be in alignment and really stand in our power. That's our journey to be empowered.
And I think all of us agree that it's just like, what else are you going to spend your time doing? Like, I don't know. I just find like the healing side of things, and, you know, it's more of a lifestyle choice. Do you know what I mean? Like, I choose to brush my teeth. I choose to do these. I'm not forced to, but I choose to. And it's a lifestyle choice. It's a lifestyle choice to decide to take radical responsibility for yourself.
Beautiful.
You know, and I think you've spoken to this, especially in the past week, Aloise, about that this is the time. You know, I don't think, you know, there's been any more like other more important time than right now to actually step into what your soul calling is.
Yeah. And I think just, you know, expanding on that, Leigha, it's funny because when I first woke up, I kind of intuitively was working towards a consciousness shift. You know, I didn't know how it was going to happen. Like, you know, I kind of woke up about 28, went down the rabbit hole, discovered everything, didn't know what to do with it. But I knew my role was to empower and to wake up people and to uplift society so we could get to this kind of critical mass of consciousness. Yeah. And then, of course, when Corona hit, I was like, oh, my God, this is it. You know, this is why we came. Yeah. And then I would kind of go on to say that my awareness has shifted even further now, that actually this is a plane of existence that we come to evolve. So what I mean by that is actually we're just souls that are in soul school. Everything that's playing out right now has been designed for us to evolve to a higher level of consciousness. Yeah. So it's absolutely fascinating when you look at it like that. If you guys, you know, look at it like Leigha, you've heard me say this before, but I've grown more in the last 18 months than I did in the whole of my life. You know, if you think we've been on growth and transformation on steroids in the last 18 months, it's seriously kicking in, you know, and you're talking to somebody who'd done personal development for 10 years and was a bit of a junkie. So what's happening right now is just speeding up the evolution of the planet, which is just amazing. And if you can look at it like that and sort of step back from it and not get too caught up in it, it's quite incredible what is happening. And the invitation, as you said correctly, Leigha, is to go in. That is why we're here. We're here to evolve. Yeah. And when people embrace that and make it a life choice, as you guys have done, it becomes fun, because what happens is actually life gets better. It can get crazier out there, but you're getting calmer in here. And that's what we do in the DLA. That's what we help people tap into and hold space for them while they're doing it. And I think the other thing as well is, like, I don't know about you guys, I'd be interested to know, but in my family growing up, as a child, we kind of grew up in a false reality. Like, everything was always okay, even when it wasn't okay. So I never learned that it was okay to have breakdowns. And one of the things that we do in our academy is we say, if you have a breakdown, please come and share it, because it's just a bump. And life is about bumps and challenges, and that's okay. But making that okay for people and giving them tools so that they can bounce when they have a problem. And actually, it doesn't mean you have to descend into alcoholism. You can actually just process it and let it go and move on.
Yeah.
Having those tools are things that we should be given at school,
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's why they medicated me at a very young age, because I was having a lot of breakdowns. Being a very powerful and special empath, I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't resonate with the energies of my family, so I would just break down. I would break down. And that was wrong. You can't do that.
Right. Okay. And so what we're describing is totally what happened to you.
Yeah. That's not normal. That's scary. That's not what other kids are doing. But why are you breaking down in the middle of math class? Like, that's not what other kids are doing. Right. So we have to get you on the other level with other children so that we can feel better about this. That was the existence. And I would still continue to have breakdowns. And the more breakdowns I had, the more specialists I went to and the more drugs they put me on. And then that evolved into total rebellion in my teenage years, and then alcoholism later on. So yeah, that's amazing, Aloise, that you encourage and hold that space for people in the DLA, because we're human. We're profoundly human. We are a soul, but we're profoundly human. And as powerful as we are, we still feel, we still hurt, and we can still be broken. We can still be scarred. We can still be ruptured, and in so many different ways. And this existence is incredibly dense. We all know this, but we came here to master it. We came here to evolve within it. But part of that evolution, part of that evolving, is healing, is breaking down, is leaning into the sadness, leaning into the trauma, leaning into the pain, and feeling your way through it. Because by bringing it to the surface and by facing it is how we transmute it, not ignoring it, not suppressing it or medicating it.
But isn't it? It's fascinating that the matrix and how it's set up is totally inverted.
Yeah.
So our society is literally upside down. It's literally, we outsource our well-being, we outsource our health. Our kid's not good, we send them to a psychiatrist. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
Everything is totally upside down and inside out. But that is kind of, again, almost like the puzzle, and the journey of life is to find your way out of that. That's our hero's journey, is to grow in consciousness to the extent where we are actually, to the majority of society, seem like the crazy ones. But actually what they don't realize is it's them that are the crazy ones, that are kind of just not seeing what they're doing, and how it's affecting them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel really compelled to just share some really big secrets here, because the audience, and like you said, it is time. It's time for the great reveal, where we take our masks off. We're not here to pretend we don't have emotions. And anyone that's gone beyond their human awareness and perception of self and saw themselves through God's eyes knows the whole reason we incarnated was that we get to have emotions. As an empath, angels don't have emotions, guys. They have love. They're a being of a frequency. They don't have what we have. It's love, but it's not the depth of emotion. They can't be touched by what we're touched by. We are the ultimate sensory organ for God. We're the tip of God's finger that is the most sensitive, the tip of God's tongue. We're the cones and rods at the back of God's eyeballs, guys. We are the cellular function on this planet that is meant to have experience with what is perceived to be outside of oneself. And certain individuals that knew these things, that studied ancient, I don't want to call them religions, but ancient practices of awareness, things like Buddhism, they understood, oh, hey, if we can invert this and pervert it, we can get people believing the opposite. We can put God on the outside. So authority is always the external. Like you bring your child to a completely a stranger that has never known your bloodline, that has never known the parents, the grandparents, has no idea the temperament of the other children in the home. And they get to make the diagnosis on how well you're doing as a parent.
And then you teach them everything outside of themselves that's nothing to do with who they are. Geography, maths, English, French, physics, completely useless stuff. Nothing about who they are, what they love, what they're good at, what they're passionate about, and what they're uniquely gifted in. How interesting is it that when you grew up in that system, that was all you knew?
Yes.
You know, you just went, oh, okay, this is what we do here. Why does this not feel very good?
Yeah, time to outsource again. You know, I have a problem, I'll take it here. I have an issue, I'll take it here. I have a question, I'll take it here. We were constantly taught, I've spoken about this a lot, especially recently, of that we're just outsourcing, and we have to come back to insourcing because we have the answers. We're the ones with the power. We're the ones with the ability to actually manifest and create our own existence. And
clever, isn't what they've done? Totally clever what they've done. You know, and as you said, Greg, this is exactly this. This is what we're doing here. We're taking our power back. We're reclaiming it. We're understanding that it's inside of us, and actually we are guided. You know, that's the key thing that I wanted people to learn in the DLA, is that actually you have all the answers and you're guided. I'll hold space for you while you develop that muscle and that skill, because it is quite a change to go from, you know, literally outsourcing all of your authority to external sources to bringing it back into yourself.
Yeah.
But what a shift, you know, when you finally really cement in your own being and you realize nothing can harm you, even all this craziness that's going on out there, actually, it's the perfect invitation to go in and do this inner work.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's where we acknowledge our true power and why we're here. And when we go inward, we find that we have all these unacknowledged emotions. And our ability to fearlessly process and feel our own feelings, that's internal power, guys. Not being able to crank the volume down on it and numb it out, or make an excuse for it and discard it, because it'll come back. And another way that they've really, I guess, made what individuals like ourselves, what we're doing is they've made it threatening to society. And in a past life, we were sent for terrorists as Roman officers. And these people were terrorists because they thought differently. We called them extremists because their thinking was extreme. They thought God is inside of them, where we were the pantheon and the idols in order to get the grace from the outside, where these individuals were saying they have grace within them.
The amount of people that I see, Robin, who have been spiritual teachers, healers, witches, wizards, and they've all been persecuted for speaking their truth. You know, the amount of karma that I help people undo, where they've literally been persecuted for healing other people, is just incredible. So yeah, we have been demonized for lifetime over lifetime over lifetime, you know, and we've been pushed into the shadows. And the other thing I just would like to add as well, because I think it works really nicely, is as we go through this spiritual evolutionary journey, we become more in alignment with who we are. And that is what raises our vibration effectively, because as you peel back the layers and you do all your healing work, you're basically going back to source. You're going back to that beautiful baby that came in, that was absolutely pure, with no conditioning, no programming, you know. And so our job really, and Leigha talked about radical responsibility. If every single being on this planet took radical responsibility for their own journey, we would see the world shift incredibly quickly. You know, and that's my mission, is to wake people up to doing that. You have to take responsibility for yourself. You heal yourself and then you heal others. And that's how we get this ripple effect that will really make a difference and change this world. Because all we're seeing right now is you've got a karmic melting pot. You've got all these souls at different levels of evolution, and never have you been able to see it as clearly as you can now, with people wearing face masks and, you know, all the crazy things. You're literally, it's weird. You're walking down the street and you can think, oh, they're obviously quite a young soul, or they might be an older soul, you know, because it's literally externalized.
Yes.
But it's a karmic melting pot for everybody to evolve and move up and get into alignment. And the more in alignment you are with who you are at soul level, the less you will be affected by this craziness.
Yes.
You know, if you're somebody, you know, who needs to leave a job, then the universe is saying, okay, maybe you're a care worker and you're being potentially really leaned on to resign. But actually, that is the evolution that you need to evolve. So everyone's getting what they need. But my advice is, the more in alignment you can get, the more you dedicate yourself to this work and make it like, you know, I know Leah's like, this is her work, obviously her marriage and her kids, but she's so dedicated, you just see it, you know, but consequently, because of that, she's doing her inner work, she's making her own life better. And there's a massive ripple effect around her. And so if everybody does that, you know, that's how we really make a difference and make a change.
And it just is so important with, especially if you have kids, because it's the conscious parenting is sending that bigger ripple effect, right? We're just stopping the ancestral wounds right there and just saying no more, right? I had a quick conversation with somebody that is leaving their kids in the system. We've been saying we're raising our kids through this without fear. You know, they're not going to school and having to line up and then on top of that wear the masks, wear, you know, do these things. And this is our second year homeschooling because, you know, our studio shut down, and that just felt right. It was like, I'm not sending my kids to go and partake in this. It's insane. And what people are convincing themselves of is that, oh no, they're the most adapted. They've adapted so well. These kids, they've adapted so well through this. And I'm like, adapted is your word for this, or conformed?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're conforming on such a high level if you're still sending your kids to that. I'm sorry, but you know, and just so important. It's so important. The more conscious you are, it ripples out. And it is so important, Eloise, I think, that you say, like, you have to heal yourself first. You know, so many people that become awake or know the truths or start to go down this path immediately kind of want to get into their soul purpose or the reason they're here, but they're not quite ready to be totally honest and truthful with themselves, if that makes sense. I had to really sit with myself for a good year of Robin asking me, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm going to just be for a while, because I've been doing all this time and I need to just actually be. And then as my alignment, you start to observe yourself in a way that you can make every tiny decision in alignment. You can observe every decision as an intuitive decision instead of a reaction from an external. You know when you've reacted out of someone else's judgment of you. You know when you've reacted out of fear. You can catch yourself in those moments. And when you're in that place, every step is towards higher timeline. So, and then it just all comes online for you. And that's the gift. Like, you're giving yourself the biggest gift is that total trust in self.
And it's also, we're kind of being tested about what our boundaries are. If you're working in an environment and all this craziness is just getting to you, are you going to put up with that, or are you going to go, no, I'm better than this and I'm going to move on? Like, we just had a situation with my stepdaughter, and the place that she was working for did not treat her right. And my partner and I, my husband and I said, you leave. Do you know what I mean? They do not, you know, they do not treat you like that. And consequently, she's now looking, you know, she's going to leave basically. And absolutely, it's really what is best for her, because she's going to have strong boundaries about self-esteem, who she is. Unfortunately, this is one of the things we're having to learn here. What are we willing to put up with? And actually, we need to really understand, like Greg very powerfully said, we create our realities. You need to know what you want, not how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, and it starts with our kids. Like, we are allowing our kids to say no.
Great.
Right? If we don't teach them that they can say no, they become an adult that doesn't say no, that doesn't understand that they can have boundaries, right? Like, if one of our kids doesn't feel like eating what we're eating, it's immediately like, what do you feel like, hon? you know, because it happens so irregularly. But if they don't feel like eating that, I'm not forcing it down their throat.
No. And telling them that just because it's an adult that wants you to do something doesn't mean you have to do it.
Exactly. Like,
you know, that's the other thing. I think we've all been so conditioned to give away our authority, especially if this person's in a teacher or a policeman, and but they don't always get things right. You know, you're teaching your kids actually it's okay to say what is right for them, and if it doesn't match, like with our daughter, you know, she'll leave. It's not right for her.
Yeah.
And there's really appropriate ways of sharing this with your kid. And one thing that became apparent in our relationship while parenting or guiding our children through life and through their own development was I cannot lie to them. So be really careful what they ask me. Because I just can't. It just comes out.
Good for you. But you're teaching them a realistic model of the world.
Yeah,
you know, you're not teaching them that it all smells of roses. You're teaching them a realistic model.
Oh no,
they have safe moments of being in shock.
They
right?
call their teachers out, like they're in science class online and we're right there. And the teacher's talking about finding iron filaments because they're talking about magnetism in the cereal, right? Like crush the cereal and look at these iron because we're not getting enough iron in our system.
Yeah.
So the beautiful people that make cereal are now adding it to our cereal for us. And I'm like, and the kids just like mute and they're like,
yeah.
8 years old, 7 years old last year, and they're calling out their teacher like, that's not right.
That's not the iron you want.
No. But I think the other thing we should add as well for people who are maybe in a situation that they're not necessarily fond of, but they're worried about how they can move forward. You know, if you're in a safe and secure job, but you don't want to be there anymore, we live in a vibrational universe. That is the thing that everybody needs to understand. Everything is energy. Everything has a frequency. So if you are saying, okay, enough is enough. I don't want to work in an environment like this. It's not for me. You know, I deserve better. That is the signal that you put out into the universe. And life is a mirror. So whatever energy you are externalizing and putting out, it will be reflected back to you. So all that will happen, one of the things I think a lot of people are worried about at the moment is, if I leave, will I get another job? Yes, because it's energy. You'll be attracted to somebody at the same level of vibration. And if you have to remember that your intent creates the consent for what you want to happen in life. So if you have a vision, okay, I want to be a healer full time. I don't want to work in this job anymore. That is the consent that you are giving the universe to attract the right people, places, things for you to live that life. If you don't have necessarily stronger self-esteem and you're thinking, I can't do anything else, I have to stay here, the universe doesn't take care of me, that is the frequency. Think of yourself like a radio. That's what's going out. That's what's being reflected back. Now, this is an incremental journey. This does not happen overnight because we have to work on our beliefs, work on our programming, shift. But that's why the Dharma Life community is what we created, because you can get that support on a monthly basis and you can have a breakdown and you can go in and we'll pick you up and we'll lift you up and we'll support you. You know, I'm very proud of, in our community, we've had quite a few women change their relationships because they were not correct. They were toxic. And I'm so proud of those women. So proud, because that is such a difficult scenario to change. But we've got their back. You know, we're helping them as they transcend those old patterns. And we must do that, because if you don't, the next life, you're going to be doing the same thing.
Yes.
You know, that's how it works.
Yeah. Evolve or repeat.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the question that we're all being faced with right now. It's either evolve or repeat, move forward or get back on the wheel and try again. And I know that's a grand scope to view it as such, but that's exactly what it is. That's the question that's being dropped in our lap by the universe right now in all ways, shapes, and forms, is evolve or repeat. Move forward on the road ahead of you with endless possibilities, or get back on the wheel and think about it for a little bit longer and try again.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think there is an opportunity now to do the real spiritual work. There is not huge amounts of people, but there are a few people out, like myself, out there teaching it. And having been a spiritual seeker, it took me 42 years of my life to get it. You know, literally for 42 years, I was just doing personal growth, doing personal development, doing healing work, just seeking. And it's only really become clear for me what I was being guided. A lot of the programs I wrote within the academy, I was being guided to write, but I didn't understand the bigger picture. I was just following my instructions. And this is how your Dharma works. If you have the courage to listen to that inner self, if you're in a job, I keep using this example, but if you're internally going, I don't want to be there, I don't want to be there, I don't want to be there, that is your sat nav saying you need to shift and change, you need to leave. And when you start being in alignment, listening to your guidance, listening to what it is that your higher self is telling you, you will go on this righteous path of action. You will stay on the yellow brick road, and the yellow brick road will lead you to your purpose, to your Dharma. As I just described, I didn't necessarily understand it myself. I was just diligent. I just turned up, listened to the guidance, implemented it, and it's led me on this beautiful journey. And that is available for every single person. Every single person is here to evolve, to grow, to do their Dharma, and to evolve spiritually.
And I think people, Aloise, I think you speak to this, and it's just, there's no judgment. There's no judgment as you're going along this path. But I find that some people get a little bit stuck and have these roadblocks come up that can't be truly honest. So they only get out what they put in these situations. So clients that we have, or clients that you have, we can really only meet them as much as they're meeting us. Right. Yeah. So yes, I want the shift. Yes, I want the shift. But are you showing up and saying the things that are going on in your life? Right. So that we can actually guide, so that we can actually, because many of us have psychic abilities, but we can't truly pick apart what's going on if we're not truly honest with ourselves and then with what's going on. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think radical responsibility, 100%. Trust yourself, see who resonates. But these people are guides. Really, this is about you empowering yourself. And anyone's teaching you that the power is outside of you, they're gone straight away. Get rid of them, because they're not right. Anyone who's getting you to externalize and just, hero worship, rubbish, get rid of it. This is about you taking your power back. But exactly as you said, Leigha, we can support, we can hold space. But unless the individual is committed to the path and doing the work, and you might, have a couple of months where you discipline, like I find in the community we've got, people disconnect and reconnect. But as long as you're reconnecting more than you're disconnecting, you will still be moving forward.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you want to look at. And the other thing I'd really suggest is mastering one thing at a time. Often when we want to change our life, we go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do my health. I'm going to do my food. I'm going to do this. And we just overwhelm ourselves. Yeah. Work out one thing that would have the most impact in your life if you mastered, maybe it's stopping smoking. Just work on that one thing until you've done it and you are not a non-smoker. Don't try and do too many things at once. Literally. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. This is your whole life's work, what we're talking about here. It's not just come to the academy for a year. If you're serious, if you really want to make a difference and want to make a change, you have to commit. This is who I am and this is why I came.
The one thing holding us back from fully embracing being human is fear. And this is the one thing that will be exposed when you make that constant progress. And your advice is beautiful, because if we try to do everything all at once, the root of our fear will manifest in every corner of our existence and will overwhelm us, and we will feel victimized by it. So by narrowing something down, your desire, where you want to create change in your life, that base fear that is stopping you from enjoying who you are will expose itself in that one venue. It's, what will I do when I'm nervous and I don't have a cigarette? It will get you to acknowledge that part of yourself that doesn't know what to do with yourself, and you're afraid of what may happen. So we're afraid of the unknown, and we don't have the new world waiting for us. As Greg said, and as you've said, we're here to create it. We can't show up and say, okay, we're spiritual. We got to wait for everyone to wake up and then well, get my job done. We've been plunked in the middle of fear being externalized. And that's God's gift through what's gone on in the pandemic, is everyone has been allowed to externalize their fear en masse.
Mm.
Now it's tangible. We can't hide it. No one has a closet anymore. Like you said, you can see, oh, that's a young soul. So yeah, they're really nervous about their outfits in the closet, and they've got to protect themselves, and they're just exuding fear. And it's stopping one from inner growth. So what a mentorship is and what a container is every time you change a little, that base root will pop up. And when you go, oh my gosh, the mentor is there to say, hey, that's you. You just don't recognize yourself yet. That's why you look scary to you. How is it making you feel? Because this is the lesson in it. And by allowing yourself to feel what the fear is trying to teach you, you will learn something of yourself. And you will learn eventually, I don't like learning from fear. I don't like fear being my God here. I want love to be my God. I want to be that representation of love here.
Yeah.
So what you do is you invite your godly nature to be present, not your fearful one, because fear isn't tangible to a soul or an angel. It's only to the identity. And that's what we're here to integrate is our perceived awareness, which is our ego's identity. That's the safe version of us that we can protect and navigate through reality. And the more we avoid pain, the more successful we are, which is an expression of wanting to deprive oneself of lessons.
Absolutely. And I think that, they always say fear, false evidence appearing real. Like whenever I have a situation where I can, because you feel it, don't you? You feel this sense of fear. Oh, I'm a bit nervous about that. I just like to get all my fears out on the table. So we did some traveling recently, and I don't want to travel wearing a mask. That's not my thing. Obviously, I'm not vaccinated. So there was a sense of kind of impending, I could just feel it. And then I just got all the fears out on the table. Well, what is the worst that could happen? Right. And I looked at all the stuff that could potentially happen. And actually, I'd done my homework. So I knew what I was allowed to do, like how I would get round things and what I needed doctor's notes and whatever it may be. So actually, we have to start calling out the fear, like your kids are doing with their teachers, obviously, maybe not to their faces, but what they're doing is calling it out, then it dissipates. People are more scared of their thoughts than actually what could happen. And so it's fantastic training that we've got right now. If something is causing you to be anxious or fearful, get it out on the table, look at it. What are you actually afraid of? False evidence appearing real. There's nothing there that's truth. It's just a story that you're telling yourself. And then this is also fantastic training for us to be in the moment, because when you're in the moment all the time, I went through the airports, no problem. I went through the shops, no problem. And that was because I was just present. And then occasionally I got someone sort of say something to me and I just dealt with it with a smile and in the moment, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So this is fantastic training ground we've got now to evolve. Really look at it like that.
Yeah, dropping those bag of bricks, like I always say, those stories, those narratives that we tell ourselves, we believe so emphatically that eventually we actually do create that reality for ourselves. We buy into the script, and not only do we buy into the script, we begin reading it, and then it becomes an actual movie that we're participating in. And that's not for us to do. As you say, we're supposed to look at the fear and why it's there and put it all out on the table. And rather than playing into the script, do our homework. And what's the worst that can happen?
Empower yourself.
Exactly. Empower yourself and stop outsourcing yourself to a narrative that doesn't even exist. Yes, it exists for people in the external because they participate in it, because they're reading the script, because it's a movie for them, because they choose on a soul level to conform to that script. But that has nothing to do with you, the individual. You make the choice before you walk into a store. I mean, I do it every day here in New Jersey when I'm running around doing errands. Even with the mandates the way that they are, I'm usually the only one or one of the very few walking through a store without a mask on because it's my choice.
And you probably understand what mandate means.
Yes.
It's a request.
It's a request. It's a civil demand. It is not a law. But yet people hear the word mandate and they conform. They just immediately bend over and say, okay, well, it must be true. It must be true for me. But
Or it
it's
must
not
be
true
law.
for
And they
you.
don't exactly don't understand the
Totally.
difference.
Yeah.
And it totally contradicts common sense. And this is our training right now from these establishments, is to contradict our own logic so we can go beyond logical thinking. This is the 2 + 2 is 5 test, everyone. Welcome to the Orwellian nightmare. We've been in this experiment for a while, because 2 + 2 is equal to 5 when you think a sock is going to keep a virus out of your body. Like, come on, right? And how are they in science class? How is a science teacher teaching about cellular biology and viruses, and kids are wearing masks? How are people not going, okay, so it's less than a micron, right? Okay, if I'm mask
But it's
around
hooking us, isn't it, to see how far we'll actually
Come
go.
on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, take it a step further. What's the truth about viruses?
Well,
They're
they're
not.
made by the
They're
body.
not. They're not transmittable. It
Yeah.
actually starts in the pituitary and works its way down. It's on us. It's on us. It's our responsibility, guys. So yeah, take it a step further. You know, the truth about it's amazing what we're willing to participate in, partake in, and give ourselves away to without taking the initial step back and going, wait a minute, let me figure this out for myself first, and then I'll make an informed choice based upon my objective information that I have obtained.
But can you see how it's such a beautifully designed, orchestrated system?
Yeah.
You know, consciousness has designed this for your empowerment and your growth. Because exactly as you said, you know, we've been so conditioned not to stand out, you know, not to be different, that people just get so scared about it. But actually, this is all about you becoming a sovereign, empowered, fully fledged spiritual being. You can't do that if you're walking around in a mask. So it's just beautifully how beautiful. It blows my mind, you know, how it's been orchestrated.
It really is. This is highlighting how would we stand out in a crowd if we didn't have this?
Yeah.
How would we identify the spiritual leaders of this new world? Where would we go for advice? How would we know? So we wouldn't, and we wouldn't change. And that's why things didn't change. Yes, I understand my responsibility as who I am to not comply when I go into my local grocery store, because when I go in and smile at everyone, it gives them permission to believe in something else, that someone else isn't doing that and someone else isn't afraid, and it gives them hope. And I'm met really warmly by everyone. I'm yet to have someone say no, and in which case I'd start probably laughing and say, let's see your science degree.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, let's talk about it. But yeah, this is our opportunity now to make the change, because we're not allowed to just fit in anymore. You're going to compromise your soul by fitting in, and those of us that can't do that, well, we've just been identified, and there's no turning back. So now with this movement being identified, that is the new world. You're either on board with it or you're clinging to the old one of karma, in which you're going to wake up to your greatest fear every morning. No matter where you bury it, it's going to be right back at your front door.
And I think the other thing that I'd love people to really kind of grasp is that, you know, this is your hero's journey. You will be tested. The spiritual path is not for the faint-hearted, because you're being tested to see how you respond and whether you then utilize all the things that you're learning. Biggest thing that we can do is let go, basically. That is the number one thing. If I could say to somebody, that's the number one tool you need in your toolbox, is to continually keep letting go. Because when you keep letting go, you stay in alignment with the flow. You know, when we get anxious, upset, annoyed, all of those things take us out of that flow of life. And we are here to do our hero's journey. And there are different stages that happen and different challenges that we will have to do and take. as we progress on our spiritual path. But just look at it as exactly that. It's a challenge. Challenges are opportunities for growth. Everything's happening for you, not to you. Like the biggest piece of advice, like it's very simple. If you just take on the perspective that life happens for you, not to you, everything is happening for you. Even if you have something that happens which seems bad, I promise you that if you keep looking for the good, you will see it. You can only see what you are the vibration of. Most people fall into the trap, into the pit of the negative thing and why this is happening for me and blah, 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 blah. If you keep moving and keep looking and saying, okay, processing the emotions, letting them move through you, and then why is this happening for me? In my stepdaughter's case, why was this happening for her? Because there's a better job out there with a better place that she can be herself, But we have to understand that two kind of big tools are letting go and understanding that life is happening for us, not to us. And then to keep evolving.
And we're supposed to move. Yes, I got a beautiful analogy for this. How do you walk over a hotbed of coals, guys?
Quickly.
That's the life's path. You can't hold on to one position. It's going to burn your soles of your feet, right?
Yeah.
So yes, holding on to the past by allowing a part of self to get fractured as a child, it's stuck in the past, getting burnt. And as we grow, we need to protect that individual and keep it safe.
Yeah.
So this is where we're all subject to having that fracture in consciousness. And we talk about the inner child work. We are going down to that point of where that consciousness fractured in order to be safe in a world of pain, because the pain was too much for the child, the emotion to bear. And in fracturing, you don't get to integrate the emotions. So when you become an adult, you can be triggered through that fractured personality and essentially controlled. And this is Manchurian Candidate. This is mind control, guys. This is exactly what they've done to us en masse. And we're deprogramming people through what we're going through. And what I've noticed in the individuals that crossover clients that we've had, Aloise, and my wife included, is that you're really equipping them with the tools to dissect what is standing in front of them, to disassemble it into its base constituents, and then the monster isn't so afraid when it's in pieces. You understand why you assembled it and what you were supposed to learn from it. So I'm really able to make a lot of the mending progress because these individuals are already accustomed to taking accountability and facing fear. They're fearless individuals, and it's beautiful. Imagine a world full of fearless humans and emotionally integrated. And from my experience, when you do connect with your inner child, that union takes place and that inner child starts to grow as you mature, and it catches up. And there's a moment where your inner child will become the same age as you. And I won't go into it any further, but there is a point where the inner child work is done, guys. And you are only your ended awareness. It is your higher self all the time. So when you see a challenge pop instantaneously, it bypasses fear. You see the reason for it. You excitedly, enthusiastically go after it. So it's not afraid of a bump in the night. It's hear something in the woods. Oh, what could it be? And you're chasing it around. And when you're the thing in the dark chasing stuff around, well, you're the boogeyman. There's nothing to be afraid of. So you get comfortable in that part of yourself. Therefore, when it's in the external, it's a playground for you to play in because you've already been there in your consciousness inside.
Yeah, I would say you're in balance. You don't have these shadow aspects that you can't see anymore. You've integrated them, and consequently, you are self-governing. Yeah. You're not triggered by something that's going to trigger an inner child aspect of yourself or trigger a shadow aspect of yourself. You just govern yourself because you can see more clearly, which is, part of this journey that we really have to commit to doing. The inner child work, the shadow work, balancing our masculine, feminine energies. It's all part of us being this fully fledged, evolved spiritual being that government government, govern the mind.
Yeah.
But that's because people can't govern themselves. When you become a fully fledged spiritual being and you go through your hero's journey, you go through your tests, you evolve, you climb Jacob's ladder, you know, you're going up the ladder, not down the snake.
Right.
You become a self-governing being. You don't need to be governed by the government. You will govern yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we want. Communities of people. And what's, you know, I feel what's going to happen is we're already seeing it in some countries where they're producing the vaccination passports. You know, the segregation is happening. And again, if you're in a country where that is happening, don't fear it, embrace it, because you're going to be around more like-minded people. Who wants to eat in a crappy restaurant that's dirty anyway? You'd much better to go to your friend who cooks organic food, you know?
Right.
So everything is just going to split beautifully. You know, the meek will inherit the earth. And so that's what we're going to do. The meek, the spiritually evolved will inherit the earth, and the others, they will maybe keep reincarnating into that lifetime.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Until they learn, you know?
And that's what their soul needs.
Yeah. They need to evolve or repeat, and certain souls will need to repeat the lesson over and over again. And we've spoken about this, you know, numerous times in great depths, that this is all at a soul level. It is all a choice at a soul level. And we're witnessing that split right now, Aloise, as you just spoke of. And it's a grand split. You're witnessing people make choices at a soul level of what they wish to experience in this lifetime. Whether it's the evolution or the revolution of their self-evolution, as I like to say, or, you know what, not this time. Yeah, I'm just conformed because I'm in fear, and because go along to get along. It's the thing to do. It's the hip thing to do. And I don't want to be the one guy in the store without a mask and everyone look at me. I can't deal with that. I just can't deal with it this lifetime. And that's okay. That is okay. At a soul level, we as souls have to be okay with that. Part of the letting go. We have to let go. We can't help everyone. We can't save everyone. Yes, it's the hero's journey, but even the hero knows himself.
The hero has to partake.
The hero has to partake, and the hero can't save everyone. And the hero, first and foremost, has to be there for him or herself in order to truly, truly be the hero. That's what every hero learns. They initially go out and they try and save the world, you know, show their massive display of power. And then and you see this through superhero movies and superhero stories. What do? They all go out there and they try and save the world. And then the story progresses to, wait. Take a step back, take a few steps back and come back to self. Learn about thyself. The hero's journey is not saving the world. It's saving yourself first.
Yes, absolutely.
And then truly that sovereignty, you know, you can go out in the world knowing that you will probably trigger others, you know, and that is just part of it. It is just part of the vibration and frequency you're holding is going to trigger others. I mean, our clients may get triggered, other people in our communities, family will get triggered, because with every paradigm shift, you're going to experience a little bit of resistance, a little bit of, you know, people not fitting in the same way or looking at you differently, or this is part of your journey. And we're so okay. Like, I'm so okay if I'm triggering people. It just doesn't shake me anymore, because I've done so much work to know what is my truth, that there's just no external that I need for them to validate who I am, what I'm doing. And until you're there, right? Like, you know, that's the thing. That's why it's so important to heal yourself. And then there's the role that you take, because you'll continually have these lessons come up if you don't. From a different person, but it'll be the same thing. So if you're getting triggered at work, if you're getting triggered in these situations, part of it is to look at yourself, because you can go out of that job, right? You can go out of the corporate world. You can move away from that. But if you haven't learned what you were supposed to learn through that and accept what that was and what lesson there was for you there, you can go into a soul purpose, but you're going to get triggered the same way. If somebody doesn't agree with you, are you going to shut down and think that you're being judged?
Absolutely. Getting your lessons every day, look at your life and understand, you know, what did I need to learn today? What did I learn from this scenario? Because when you get the lesson, you don't repeat. And I think just building on what you were saying, Leigha, as well, I think part of the journey that we go through is we're like a snake that has to shed skins. And part of that's quite difficult is when we have to shed community or family or friends. But unfortunately, unless those people are evolving with us, we will need to let them go at some point. And I think one of the things that we do in the Dharma Life community is offer support as you're going through that process, because there's like a void period where often you're not in your new life and you haven't quite left your old one, but you know you'll need to leave these toxic friendships and relationships. But at the same time, you're a human. Like I spent probably the best part of a year leaving toxic friends who drank too much, took too many drugs. But I would always fall off the wagon because I got lonely, because I didn't have the support mechanism that is DLC. And that's one of the reasons why I created DLA and DLC, is because I needed that and it didn't exist. And so we must get support on our journey because it eases our transition and we don't feel so alone. Yeah. And actually, there's many, many people now committing to doing this work. So why not do it together and do it, make it fun and laugh at ourselves when things go wrong. But hey, what did we learn? What was our lesson? It's okay. Because you do have to really embed. Like, it's one thing to say, okay, you need to learn to let go. You need to learn to get your lessons. You need to learn that life happens for you, not to you. But you're undoing a whole lifetime of conditioning. And that doesn't come overnight. You have to integrate the learning and really live it and really embed it, because that is the way forward. And doing that with support makes it so much easier, because you've just, people have got your back.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
And we really need to assemble in communities, guys. You can't just do it alone. Like you said, Aloise, and your whole purpose of understanding this is hard alone created the community, and look how many people are benefiting because you created what you needed. And likewise for myself, dealing with the autoimmune and fibromyalgia pain and irritable bowel, healing that in myself, it made me the appropriate individual for people that have experienced that to come to and voice their concerns and their fears. And then for me to say, I had those, I dealt with them. Your experience will be different, but you will not lose. Keep believing in you, and you will get there. It's self-love. And the more you can accept it from yourself, and the more you will grow, the more the healing can take in you, because you believe in you.
Yeah.
We're at an amazing point in history. Well, it's not history. It's an amazing moment of opportunity. And we cannot change the world or make the government do something that they're incapable of doing. Like, we cannot get binary programming to think outside of binary. So if we demand the government to do something different and reform, well, like you said, Aloise, it's self-governance. That's to replace externalized government. They're supposed to collapse. The whole thing that's gone on in U.S. politics, that was the linchpin being pulled so that the whole structure could collapse. Not so someone could rescue it and make all the bad guys go away and then be the big daddy. That's not the point. The point is to get us to put our own pants on in the morning and make our own change, not sit in a diaper and cry that it's smelly. Because that's what's going on when we're demanding the government to wipe our butt for us. So we change the world through changing the scenarios in which our children are raised, because that's why everyone's so broken. They were raised in a scenario in which led them to a belief of self that was degrading and constantly reinforced from the outside that they have to prove themselves and that they're never good enough until someone on the outside tells them they are.
And also, to build on that as well, Robin, we were taught to chase material things. Our society is set up to you're rewarded if you're a celebrity or if you're wealthy or if you're good looking, right? We need to get back to service. We are here to serve. We should have a society that is built on the foundation of service to others. So the work we are doing, the conscious ones, we understand that, we are here to be of service. Like we said, you heal yourself, then you heal others. But that's the real shift that we'll see with humanity when it embraces this service to others as a kind of mantra, as a underlying way of being, effectively.
And the only way we can serve others is to understand who we are.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're doing what we think they expect of us. So it's such a pitfall for the spiritual community to believe that, okay, service to others, that means I just do good things for others and always neglect me and always put me last. And then God up there will somehow drop a magic rainbow on my head one day and everything will work out. We see this in a lot of, sorry guys, but Christians who believe that it's about giving everything I have. It's
not at the detriment to yourself. Yeah,
exactly. And they're left with resentment and bitter feelings because God isn't replenishing it. They keep giving it away, expecting it to come back. And when it doesn't, they're upset and they feel like they failed.
Yeah.
It's not about what you're giving. It's about what part of yourself are you allowing to be shared. That's the service to others.
Yeah.
If I accept myself as a spiritual connection to my higher self, then my service to others is being me every day, which is connecting to my higher self and being honest. So for the clientele in our containers, I'm really honest about what I'm tuning for them. I'm not going to tell them what I think will make them feel better. I'm going to share with them what I know I feel and what I cannot deny inside. And that's the greatest service I can be to others, is being extremely honest and blunt about it. And that's my gift. If people don't like it, then there's softer ways of learning about your fear.
Yeah.
But if you want to try the 10-meter board and
it's just, and that's what I was talking about, is just the triggers. Like we could trigger people, right? And within, I'm sure, Aloise, you trigger some people sometimes. It's just because we're pushing them out of their comfort zone. It's another level that we're getting them to elevate at. They have to choose. They get to choose. And I just don't take it personally, because it's probably something they needed to hear, because I am coming from my heart center. I am speaking my truth. So on all levels, if it's taken in that way, I will reflect on it and make sure that I sit right with it. But
if you're triggered, the issue is with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, and also it's one of those things that I think as you go through your own teaching path, when you first get somebody project onto you, or when somebody is triggered by what you do, it's a bit of a shock, because you're like, actually, I was only trying to help you and serve you, and that, but you kind of get used to it, because you're that's how you do your job. You're going to be triggering people just purely because that's the stuff that needs to come out. As long as you're handling yourself with integrity, and as long as you're handling self, like you said, in your heart space, then you can hold your head high and you haven't done anything wrong. Yeah. And those situations kind of get easier to handle. I think just to begin with, there can be a bit of a this is a bit scary.
Yeah.
And it always ends up being a gift for the individual in hindsight. They always understand it, because what it helped was it exposed a layer of protection their ego is using. And that's always a gift. So yes, doing it in a loving way is obviously, it's heart-centered, it's being balanced. Feeling what the impact of your words are going to be emotionally to that individual, and then not fearing their emotional response. That's the major challenge, is to not alter ourselves based on the recipient. It's, you can be, honest about who you are with everyone, then those that are meant to learn from you will find you, and you don't have to work at it. This is really finding your bliss in life and achieving that ultimate balance, that satori, which is, I have no fear of any action, and I understand everything my actions will cause.
Mm-hmm.
So you're the ultimate participant within your own story, and that is the self-governance. It's potential for everyone, guys, and these communities, this is what we're all about.
And it's such a fun journey. Like, obviously I'm a bit biased, but I really think it's the most incredible journey you'll ever take. It's the journey you're supposed to take. It's the most incredible journey you'll ever take. And it's magical.
Yeah.
The synchronicities, the people that show up, your twin flames, your husband of 7 lifetimes, it's just incredible.
Yeah, that really speaks to my heart, Aloise, because I have met some just incredible souls along this journey that I've had past lives with, brothers and sisters, even mother, father figures. I mean, look at Robin and Leigha, my soul family. I mean, these incredible individuals that you meet after a lifetime, or what seemed like a lifetime of just disappointment after disappointment, disappointment after disappointment. Your God and the universe truly does surprise you in just the most amazing and blessed of ways. It really, really does. And abundance, we speak of this all the time, Robin and Leigha. This abundance comes in all forms. And one of the biggest forms of abundance that the universe will provide is your soul family. Are these individuals that will not just add meaning to your life, but truly help inspire to bring out the absolute best in you, help you realize aspects of yourself that you didn't even know existed. These are people that are on a certain level, you're on a certain level, you meet, and then it's like an explosion. Both are working subconsciously to help break apart all of those conditionings and programming. And essentially, I'll say this again profoundly, we're all reconnecting in this lifetime. We are all in reconnection because we have done this before. Every day that goes by, every moment that passes, the familiarity between myself, Robin, and Leigha just continues to grow. It's like we've done this before. Myself and Robin were working together back in Rome.
Nice.
Myself and Leigha have
Aloise and I have shared lifetimes together. Hey, Aloise?
We've had a lot of lifetimes together,
yeah. I mean,
You
myself
just
and
feel
Leigha
it.
were so close and so jovial together. We were definitely best friends or brother and sister, even
Quite possibly
in a past life.
That's the thing I love, is how you change roles. Like my son in a past life is my best friend in this life.
Yes.
One of my best friends in a past life is now a best friend in this life. My astrologer was my mother in my past life.
Wow.
So all these people like show up, and some are meant to be companion souls that, you're here to support each other on your journeys, and some do come in just to clear their karma with you and disappear. But usually we have kind of a core that are there to really dig in with and do the work if that's what you want to do. But it's just fantastic to think that we all change roles and do it lifetime after lifetime. But this is the last one I'd like to say. I'm getting out now. This is my second time round, apparently. Did it once, came back. This is my second time. 20. I'm on 25 lifetimes, 26 lifetimes, I think, this time. And this is the last one now. I've got a guardian angel ship awaiting me.
Awesome.
Wow.
You
You helped me so much through that. I don't know, was that 2 months ago? With my big realizations about my eye, and then you helping me through all that. Aloise was instrumental in you explaining that it was a past life also, that I was injured because I was a spiritual teacher. And
you've had loads of lifetimes as a spiritual teacher, and it's just wonderful to watch you stepping into that, because it's who you are.
Yeah, thank you so much. But that was like an even further up level of just like, okay, this is who I am on every level, because there was this aspect of me that I wasn't, that was still kind of from an inner child from a past life that I hadn't healed. And, it was stopping me from really stepping into my purpose in a big way. So healing all that, I mean, that was quite a tumultuous week, I would say.
And you did brilliantly.
But with the support of you and the community and Greg and Robin, it's absolutely doable. And that's what we say, is just like, get in the energy of people that are there, that have done that work, that can help you through that. That's part of our container coming up in January, is a 3-month dive into your soul purpose and taking away the layers so that you can really fully go there. So we're so blessed to have you here today, Aloise. You're a beautiful, beautiful, radiant light, and
thank you.
We honor what you're doing and who you are on every level, and we're blessed to have this friendship with you.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. And just before we go, just to sort of finish off on that point you were talking about with your work, like I just had a breakthrough in my work. So I'm creating a karma mastery program as we speak. I'm just training two of the community guys in, if you imagine, I've learned to work in the Akashics, and then I've basically, it wasn't satisfying me because I wasn't solving some big issues that I had.
Right.
You know, your challenges are opportunities for growth. They're blessings.
Yes.
And it kind of got me to go that one step further. And it gave me a big, when I went to teach it, it gave me a big breakthrough in how I can help others clear those karmic blocks.
Wow.
So it could be money, it could be health, it could be wellness, it could be fertility, you know, all sorts of weird and wonderful things. But the root of it, you know, like you went through with obviously your own story, is from a past life. But the breakthrough I've had is being able to then help people shift the karma in the past life, and also then having an impact in this life. So if you've had, for example, pneumonia in a past life, that might manifest as asthma in this lifetime.
Yeah.
So the process I've developed enables us to clear up the karmic patterning, clear up the imprint of that in your blueprint, and then essentially work on it in this lifetime. You have to take radical responsibility. It's not magic. You know, you would still need to do things in this lifetime. But what you find is once you clear the karmic imprint, it's a lot easier, you know. And one of the things I worked on myself was weight. You know, I'll be very honest, I'd always been plagued with my weight. It had gone up and down and up and down. And I was like, why can my husband eat this, not put on any weight? And I eat less than him and put on weight, right? And that just annoyed me. But it came from a lifetime where I'd starved to death. And so my body was holding on to weight because it didn't want to starve to death again.
Yeah.
So the great thing is now is once you clear the karmic imprint, as long as you're eating healthily and well and in this lifetime, it will drop off. You know, so I'm quite excited about it because it's going to be the program I launch next year, and I'm going to create practitioners to do this work, because I think it's going to be popular. Because imagine if you've had a problem all your life and you think, actually, I don't know where it's coming from, but probably coming from a past life, you know, including things like I was stabbed in my shoulder, you know, for speaking my truth as a spiritual teacher. And I'd never had a problem with my shoulder in this life ever, but I had so much pain.
Yeah.
And that was because of this past life. But when you use this process, it dissipates. It takes about, well, it can take up to 3 months or even 6 months because the physical body is a lot denser, but it's gone.
Yes.
So we need to take the responsibility back. We don't outsource to a doctor. We can heal ourselves.
Exactly.
Basically.
And it's getting to the root, like the actual root, you know, like I went into a meditation and I went back to that lifetime. Like I was stabbed in Egypt. I was in Egypt and I was kind of, you know, like stabbed in a back alley, and I saw it and I felt it, and I, you know, it was
integrated it
and went through the emotion of that whole event. And that's the work. Not easy, but it
is. Yeah.
A pleasure to be here with you beautiful beings, you gorgeous, sexy beings, you.
You're beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Aloise. It was such a joy to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for sharing the space and energy with us. And again, thank you for all that you do for humanity. It is truly uplifting and inspiring. We are in awe of you and your work, my dear. So thank you so very much. And thank you to everyone for joining us this morning or this afternoon, wherever you may be. This concludes our Thanksgiving extravaganza for the week, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you are across the world, from our family to yours, we wish you a very happy, very healthy, very safe, and very blessed Thanksgiving holiday. And as always, stay vigilant, stay frosty, stay heart-centered. And until next time, everyone, take care and God bless.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dharma Life podcast. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. Please come over and say hello on my Instagram, our Facebook group, and also please let me know what you thought. So if you are listening, please take a screenshot of the podcast that you are listening to. Tag me on Instagram and I will reshare your post, and please let me know what it is that you got out of today's episode. Remember, when we do our Dharma, we are happier, healthier, we live longer, and we have a deep sense of unshakable inner peace.